out of garden. Today, well, we're waiting on Hurricane Ian. Great deal of fun there. Things that you might be experiencing at this point is feeder bands coming on. Starting to get rain already. Winds will start picking up before too long. These are things you're going to need to prepare for now that the rain has gotten here. It's in between the bands of rain. Go out and look for anything that might be picked up. Right now I've got a chair. I need to figure out where I'm going to put it. I'll probably do that tonight before I go to bed. But don't panic. Whatever you do, don't panic. Hey, Gil. Hey, Aquarius. Where'd they go? There we go. Hey, Catherine. Nice to have you, Catherine. Yeah, the storm is basically here. Now, the effects are going to continue to downgrade as time goes by. They're predicting it to be a class 4 when it comes ashore south of Sarasota now. And they're essentially predicting that this thing is going to be very, very similar to Hurricane Charlie. Charlie was bad. So if you're on the West Coast and you haven't left yet, leave. You're anywhere even near there. Head inland. Actually, right now, one of the best places for Southwest Florida to go is to head over to the Miami area or head north of Tampa. This thing's going to go at a angle across the state. It's going to buzzsaw right across. The feeder bands are already here. The traffic right now at this time of night shouldn't be that bad. Driving at night's not necessarily a bad thing if you can get your stuff together and get out. If you're anywhere Sarasota or further south, leave. A Cat 4 is absolutely devastating. Anybody who's Thanks, Catherine. I should be safe in my area. I'm on the opposite coast, but it's going to get windy here and rainy. It's already rainy. Anybody that is south of Sarasota, you need to leave. A Cat 4 is absolutely catastrophic. Andrew was originally a Cat 4, and they later classified that as a Cat 5 many, many years later when they created the category 5. Right now, I've got it going on the background. Fox News is running continuous. And they have it right now. Oh, no, they brought the graphic I needed down. But right now, they're predicting approximately 15-foot storm surge in certain areas. It depends on how the water gets funneled. There are several smaller ports in that area that have outer lying islands. Those islands are going to be completely annihilated. Anybody within 10 miles of the coast is in severe danger right now. 20 miles to a storm like this is absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing. Get your stuff, get your valuables. You should have already had a go bag ready. And I would recommend leaving tonight. The weather's just going to continue to downgrade, and the winds are going to slowly go up. We don't know exactly where it's going to come ashore yet. That's usually how these things work. It can vary back and forth quite a bit. It might end up going further south. If it goes further south, then I'm going to start being more and more in the area, depending on how its track is. All right, so right now it is a Category 3 at 125-mile-an-hour winds. And essentially, the track that they're showing is very, very similar to Charlie, having it come in south of Sarasota and exiting somewhere around Daytona Beach or a little bit further north, going right through the Orlando metro. I can tell you, Orlando has put a lot of money. Yeah, Camp Patton Gill, it's going to get nasty, and we're getting the feeder bands. I got a really good feeder band about, I'd say about 2 hours ago, but it's pretty much continuously raining. So it's just going to continue to get worse as time goes by. If you're on the West Coast, just get out of there. Uh, Fort Myers area, people are in the target zone. You need to leave. If you're in the Fort Myers area, I would recommend heading over to Miami. You might have to take Alligator Alley, and I recommend you do that early as possible. Alligator Alley does flood. It's not a very wide road, but it is your best option. The earlier you head out, the better. Now, they've raised Alligator Alley. It's nothing like it used to be. I'm in Palm Bay, Homestead Aquarius, which is Brevard County on the East Coast, about an hour south of where they launched the space shuttle from Cape Canaveral, give or take. Depending on how it is, it can be as short as 45 minutes, but usually it's about an hour. Hi, Daily Life. Thanks for coming in. They are predicting it coming in somewhere between like Fort Lauderdale and Sarasota. The last one that came through there was absolutely devastating. I mean, it was so bad that there were sections where there was no grass. All the older homes were in bad shape or gone. And even with the new regulations, a Cat 4 or a Cat 3, and they're saying Cat 4 when it comes ashore, it's absolutely devastating. Right now, 125-mile-an-hour Cat 3, that's serious danger. Somebody who's working construction, most houses are built to be able to take 120-mile-an-hour winds, but not really much above that. I've installed gutters for a very long time. Your standard gutter is designed to rip off at 95 miles an hour. Most of your aluminum that goes around the edge of your roof, your fascia, your valance, stuff like that, your soffit, most of it goes around 95 miles an hour. It's just gone. Homestead Aquarius, I am in Palm Bay, just south of Melbourne in Brevard County. So I'm on the opposite coast. Technically speaking, depending on which way you look at it, I'm Melbourne, but my post office is Palm Bay. So this particular area town has changed hands 3 or 4 times in the last 50 years as to which city gets to control it. So right now, Palm Bay technically controls it, but honestly, that could change. Grant Valkyria could have it next, as far as I know. They like to do things like that. They fight over who gets to have the taxes. It is quite a storm. If anybody, you have any family in that area, call and check on them, make sure they're either getting out or have proper preparations. And honestly, as somebody who's been through a lot of these, if you're even within 40 miles of the coast, it's a good idea to go further inland. Anybody outside of 20 miles is in serious danger at a Cat 4. 20 miles to the coast with a Cat 4 means nothing. I'm predicting this thing's going to go through the Orlando Metro as a Class 1, possibly a Class 2, depending on how fast it dissipates. They're saying it's going to suck up some dry air as it's coming on land, and it's not going to stay as strong. However, I've had and been in storms that have parked themselves on this date and fed from both the Atlantic side and the Gulf side, maintaining a category strength, and just sit here for a week and mess everything up before it decides it's going to meander off. So this is a wide storm, a lot like that one was. It has hurricane force winds 120 miles to either side of the eye. Basically a 250-mile wide wind field of hurricane force winds. Florida isn't 250 miles across. The widest point in Florida is nowhere even close to that unless you get up into the panhandle, which means this thing could possibly be throwing hurricane strength winds on the opposite side of the state from where it's coming on before the eye wall actually hits land, makes landfall. Now, generally speaking, hurricanes, when they're crossing Florida, like to come across in the middle of the night. I have no idea why that is. The vast majority of them cross at night or hit in the very early morning. Right now, they're predicting that it's going to be making landfall Thursday. If that's the case, it's going to have to slow down dramatically. It's already crossed more than half the distance from Cuba to Florida since this morning. So it would need to slow down. I'm predicting that this thing has the possibility of coming ashore tomorrow morning, probably right after sunrise, maybe as late as 9 o'clock in the morning. Now, the state of Florida has basically told everybody they need to be home no later than 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and have all their preps done. Unless this thing slows down a great deal, that's too late. This is one of the main reasons why Floridians prepare the way we do. We get a lot of transplants here. They're not used to it. There's a lot of people that panicked. Already, there's no water at the stores. There's no canned goods at the store. Soda's gone. Booze is gone. Booze is always gone. So that's what I want to blow my money on with an incoming hurricane. A whole bunch of booze. That way, if my house does fall down around me, I'm way too drunk to react to it. So it's going to be bad the next 24 hours. They've already canceled school, which I was surprised of. But there's a lot of places that are staying open. There's an ongoing joke about we don't take it serious until the Waffle House closes down. Well, the Waffle House on the west coast of Florida is closed down. Where I'm at, they're open. Walgreens will be open. Walmart will probably be open. Most places that have a pharmacy will most likely be open until the state forces them to close. It might not even close then. Food deliveries have already been suspended the entire state. I got several notices earlier today that food delivery would be cut off at 9 p.m. tonight, which I found very interesting. I've ordered food in a hurricane and had it delivered. Hi, Alan. Thanks for coming. As a matter of fact, during one of the hurricanes, that was one of the real slow movers where it sat on us for a week. We ran out of food. Very young then. I brought 3-4 days worth of food. We ordered Chinese and they delivered it in a hurricane. There's a good possibility several of these local Chinese stores are going to be open unless actual state officials or city officials come in and force them to close. Not really something I agree with. I think they're endangering their workers. I think they're endangering the family of the workers because in often cases the family don't want to leave because mom or dad has to work. If you're in a situation like that, I seriously disagree with the company. It's a problem here. Like I said, Walgreens is not closing. They might close they'll probably close on the West Coast. They might close in the Orlando metro, maybe. The chances of them closing here are actually pretty slim. Uh, it's possible. If the winds get high enough, they will close. They'll send their people home. But many of our grocery stores will close. Publix is real good at closing during the storm and being the first ones open. Um, a lot of people are going to need supplies after a big storm. Publix, after several storms back, decided that all public stores were going to have their own separate power system to maintain power in the building during a storm instead of relying on the grid so that when they have an all clear, all that food doesn't have to be thrown away and it can instead be sold to the community. So groceries, as far as grocery stores go, after the storm, your best bet is to go to Publix, get yourself a sub. They'll be the first ones open. They'll be the first ones accepting in trucks. And literally, as soon as they have it all clear, Publix will reopen. Winn-Dixie and other chains, most likely not. They don't have their own power systems. The employees will be coming in, taking all the frozen food and anything that had to be refrigerated, and throwing it away and waiting for the trucks to arrive and put out what they have before they open. Catherine has a question. If you are in a hotel on the 15th and 20th floor, will you be safe until it's over? No. If you're in a hotel that's floors that are that high, you need to go down to the lowest floor. Often you'll end up being in the stairwells when the power goes out. It gets very hot. It's a standard procedure. They will protect their guests. There will be people that will stay to make sure that their guests are safe. And once winds reach to a certain point, they're going to have everybody go to the most central part, which is often a stairwell or sometimes a cafeteria like area or a convention center area that is closer to the center. Hi, beam me up, Scotty. But in truth, if you know it's coming, it's much better just to leave. I often tell people the safest place in this state to be during a storm like this is Disney. A lot of people, when they're at Disney Park, don't realize they're actually walking around on the second story. What appears to be ground to you is only 3 or 4 feet worth of dirt. There is an entire giant building underneath there. They call it the tunnels. It's not really the tunnels. If they would have dug down in that area, it would have flooded. They built it in the swamp. So they built it up quite a bit. Then they built this giant building, and then all the stuff that you see on top of that is actually the second, third, fourth, fifth story, and so on and so forth. It is a giant concrete bunker underneath there. Worked at Disney. I've been in the tunnels. It's huge. You can fit thousands of people down there. They have areas for food. It's where they maintain almost all of their laundry. Uniforms for everybody's all maintained down there. A lot of their hotels also have their older hotels. The newer ones suck. Newer ones are dangerous. But like the Contemporary Hotel is a giant concrete A-frame building. I'm not sure a Class 5 hurricane could do any real damage to that thing. As 1950s style building, like it's a bunker. And even that's built up and has an underground underneath it. As a matter of fact, it has a tunnel that leads to the tunnels. So you can actually go from the Contemporary Hotel underneath the Magic Kingdom. There's a bunch of stuff there. Yeah, West Coast Beam Me Up Scotty is getting hammered. It's already started. I've already had feeder bands come in here. I'm on the East Coast. It's going to get rough. I've got as much things stored away or put away as I could or blocked in some manner. Most of the winds for me are going to be coming out of the east or southeast, which means my house is going to block a lot of it. Now, I used to have that side of the house completely blocked by a nice thick patch of woods, but they built a house next door. So now that house is my wind block. I'd rather have had the woods. Oh, if you're ever in Florida and a hurricane's coming, Disney's the best place to go. They will have people that will be there. They will shut the parks down, but they will have people that they will pay very, very well to stay there. They won't leave. They really will not. They'll be there for days. A lot of them will have a room to go to of their own or share a room with somebody. But it is definitely the safest place and by far the most stocked in general. In emergency situations like that, they're not going to charge you for your food or things like that because, well, Disney's usually not like that. Yeah, if you're on the West Coast, Scotty, you need to leave. Anybody south of Tampa needs to leave. Catherine, on the 15th and 20th floor, the reason you're not going to be safe is because the winds will push in on a wall or a big hotel like that. It will bust the windows through. There's also the flying debris that you got to worry about. When you get to type of wind speeds that they're talking about here, debris is a real issue. So you're not going to be safe up that high. You're only going to be safe if you're in the most central, lowest location. Very high, 15 and 20th floor hotels in Florida are actually very rare. The reason they're very rare is, well, one, Florida's a swamp and they sink in, and two, when a hurricane comes in, really anything over 5 stories takes damage. There are a few exceptions to that, And now they're building things to 7 and up to 15 stories. But in general, most things in Florida never get approved to be built that high because the wind speeds coming once you get above the tree level, the winds are just absolutely brutal. So you're in a high hotel room and you're looking out that window. Well, that window is not going to be there. Once that window goes, those interior walls are not built to withstand those type of winds. The interior walls and the interior doors go. You might be safe from storm surge, but you're not going to be safe from the wind, the debris, and the rain coming through. The rain comes sideways. No, I am not driving to Denver. I'm expecting Scotty to come in south of Sarasota and kind of do a little S, go up through the Orlando metro and exit around Daytona Beach, give or take a little bit. A little bit. But as as it comes in, unless it slows down a great deal, it's going to be here today. It's more than half the distance. That's why we're starting to get hit. The East Coast is starting to get actual hurricane force. I've been watching it on TV. I got it on a loop behind me where they're showing what's going on. And they're not close to the wall yet, but they are getting hurricane force already. And if you're over there, leave. Leave now. Even if one person hears that and actually leaves, that's a good thing. Well, let's see. It's definitely coming in. Cape Coral is getting hammered by a major feeder band right now. Let's see. I'm about to get hit by another feeder band. It really looks like it's trying to make a beeline for the Fort Myers area. Right, I'm still under a tropical storm warning, but that hurricane warning is getting closer and closer every time I see that graphic. I expect about Hurricane 1 level winds to come through here at some point. It might be very brief. Um, the last one that came in basically came straight up the state of Florida, and right before it got to here, and the eye wall was going to cross just west of us. Instead of it doing that, the entire eye wall unwrapped and it turned into one long, heavy duty line that just ripped right up the state. Never seen one do that before. It unwound. It's rather interesting. As far as internet in this area goes, our internet sucks. Um, Fortunately, my internet is underground now, so is my power. But I lose it in an afternoon thunderstorm. I don't know how the power is going to go. They just moved the power from being a line that ran across poles at the back of the property to underground across the front of the property. Not really sure how that's going to work. We're expecting a lot of rain, and they put it right next to the ditch, which will fill up full of water. Now they spliced that line every 2 lots, so I don't know if I'm going to have power or not. Part of the reason why they put the utilities underground is to help with these storms. At the same time, they generally weren't put underground for a reason because of the water. So we'll see how that goes. I've never had a place where the utilities were underground, so I don't really have anything to base that off of, other than I was always taught that the reason we don't have them underground here, other places do, is because our water table is essentially 3 feet underground, and we flood during storms, afternoon thunderstorms, hurricanes, tropical storms, when the water table comes above our ground. Now, I believe they put that about 3 foot underground. So we'll see. I'll tell you, they spent a lot of money and they've been doing it to a lot of the areas around here. They've been changing out what poles have to be left. They're taking out the wooden ones and they're putting in heavy duty concrete ones or steel. They pulled a whole bunch of steel poles out because apparently they weren't rated any stronger than the wooden ones, so the state made them replace them. So that's been fun. That's been going on for about 3 years now. There's a lot of money that's been going on into that. The bigger metros, of course, got the attention first. I'm a smaller metro, but much of this area is already underground, and most of our traffic signals have been switched to steel. There are some areas of the city that's still not the case. Yeah, my mileage would vary quite a bit, Scotty. Uh, Scotty, the water in this area has a lot of iron in it. It doesn't really smell bad most of the time. During the dry season, it kind of smells little off. But if you pour a cup of water and you sit it on the counter and you wait an hour, it's going to turn reddish brown as the oxygen gets to the iron that's in it. It tastes terrible. Now, there are other parts of the state that have much better water. Uh, East of the Orlando area, an area called Narcoossee. That area is actually on top of an ancient volcano, and they have sulfuric water. It smells like rotten eggs. You get to other areas, and you can get into lime-based water that'll be coming out of the aquifer. That's not that bad. Uh, it's nice and clear. Usually doesn't smell. But you got to head more west in Florida and get up on the old shelf. There's a shelf in Florida where, like, I'm more toward the coast, so I'm not on the shelf. But Orlando and westward, you're getting onto a shelf, and there's a ridge right up the center of Florida that is a bunch of ancient islands. And there's limestone. You get up on the limestone shelf, which is 100 feet higher up than I am. The water's not too bad there, with a few spots that are exceptions. Kissimmee water is horrible. Um, you get up in the Panhandle, and there's a couple ancient volcanoes up there, and man, that water is yellow. It will burn your skin. It smells terrible. But I've got a high iron and high manganese content to my water, It stains my bathtub red. If you let something sit in the water for a while, the iron will actually fall out, and then you'll get this black spot, and that's the manganese. As far as using it for watering your plants, they don't really care for it. It's better than city water, but not by a lot. So most of us either have some type of water purifier. A lot of people have water softeners, but I took mine out because it was just adding salt to my water. Uh, we keep large bottles of water, things like that. Um, it's okay to cook with. It's all right for making coffee or tea. Uh, Good night, Gil. There will be a film in the water. You make a cup of tea and you heat it up and you wait a few minutes and you'll get what kind of looks like a weird oily slick across the top of your water. That's because it's a hard water. You scoop that out. It's a mineral coming up to the top. A lot of people do end up having some problems from the water, but in general, it's not too bad. Um, there are things you can do to make it reasonable. I had a good filter on for a long period of time. Reverse osmosis systems are very popular here so that you have something decent coming out of your tap for drinking. Those are expensive, really expensive. The city of Melbourne, which I was in for a while, I was on city water there, and they put a lot of chlorine in that water. They did just vote to get rid of the fluoride in the water and something else. I don't remember what the other thing else was, but that water source comes from the St. Johns River. Now, I'm at the headwaters of the St. Johns River, and I have a canal behind me. If I flood because of this storm, a lot of that septic is going to rise up out of all these septic tanks, go into those canals, go into the St. Johns River, go north. In this case, it would be down, and go right into the lake that feeds that entire city. Hi, backyard or backyard gardener. It's good to see you. So, eh, always found it funny. After every storm, they really, really amp up the chlorine. Usually speaking, they shut the water down in Melbourne, and the general Melbourne area once the winds get to a certain point. We don't have a lot of the old water towers that maintain pressure. It's all run on pumps now. They don't want to blow those pumps, they're expensive. So they'll pressurize as much as they can and turn it off, or sometimes they'll wait until the power goes off, but they usually shut it off and they kind of let everybody know that's going to go on and to boil your water. It's usually the first thing that comes back on. They have their own power source. They don't have to shut it down, but where the water plant is located, there's a pretty good chance of it flooding, and that's a real problem. All right, so let's see. Yeah, it really looks like it's heading for the Fort Myers area. It really looks like Ian is heading for Fort Myers. I'm not seeing really, really heavy rains in these bands. I mean, it's definitely raining, but we're looking at greens and yellows with only a little bit of red. One of the things with these types of storms is when they slow down crossing and they start to lose their strength, they drop a lot of their water. These storms don't just pick up water in the normal way that like a thunderstorm would. They literally suck water off the surface of the ocean. Uh, Man, I wish I remembered all the names of the storms I went through. One of them that came through here was so heavy in the salt water that it dumped on everything that all the trees turned brown for weeks. Everybody was freaking out. What's going on? It was salt. You could actually see the salt on the leaves of the tree once it dried out. Of course, afternoon thunderstorms quickly took care of that. But for a couple of weeks, all the oak trees, all the pine trees, everything just they turn brown, drop their leaves. So that's a definite possibility with storms like this. It's definitely coming. Florida is getting hit now. So fun. Let's see. What do we got? No, they took the graphic off that I needed. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a long couple of days. I need to make more coffee. It is definitely going to be a long couple of days. As a Bye Aquarius, you have a good night. As a general thing, no, Scotty, I won't be doing a weather dance. You have a good night, Alan. Thanks for coming. No, no. The only thing I do is I watch religiously and I make decisions more or less off of what I see on the radar, less about what they're saying and more off of my own observations at this point. I've been through so many hurricanes, I really couldn't even count them if I tried. I've been through the eye of multiple storms. So I judge it by what I see on that radar, what wind speeds are talking about, the pressure. So we've got some tornado warnings going up right now in Broward County, which is out in the middle of the state. Yeah, we got two of them. Oh, that's fun. So we have one just west of Fort Lauderdale that went up, and the other one they haven't gotten over. The other one's in Broward. So Fort Lauderdale is on the east side of the state, on the opposite side of what's getting hit. Does not mean you're necessarily in a safe area. So that's why I'm really not going to be getting very much sleep in the next few days. Because I will be watching this very closely. Yeah, it's gonna get squirrely. Squirrely's not bad. It's when the cows start to blow. That's when it's a problem. All right, so yeah, that's the first tornado warning I've seen out of this so far. It it really looks like it's making a beeline for the Fort Lauderdale area. They're gonna start getting hit by a much stronger band here real soon. Charlie came in at Punta Gorda, which they now have up on the map. That's not a good sign. Give me just a minute. I'm going to go grab some coffee. Beer alone. I quit drinking quite some times ago, Scotty. It's not that I won't drink, I just generally don't bother. Every once in a while, maybe a beer or a couple shots of whiskey or rum. But in general, I don't care for it anymore. I'll occasionally brew some of my own of something, mulberry wine or whatnot. But if I buy a 6 pack of beer, usually speaking, somebody else drinks it for me, or I cook with it because there's certain things that I cook that I must cook in beer, like bratwurst. The humidity's going up, and I can feel the pressure going down. One of the lovely effects of having injuries over the years and being in Florida is you can feel these things coming. My ears are starting to pop, and this pressure's going down. I can feel them in my shoulders and in my knees. That's not good. But yeah, uh, one of the main reasons I buy beer at all anymore is just to cook bratwurst in it. Brats, onions, Give it a good boil, throw it on the grill afterwards. Happy person. A little bit of brown mustard. Sometimes I throw some onion on it. Sometimes I don't. Yes, I have made sauerkraut. I don't really care for sauerkraut. Made some a couple years ago, just to make some. Nobody ate it. It tasted fine, but nobody really cares for sauerkraut in the house. I ended up giving it to somebody else that I know really likes it. All right, so Key West is basically stuck in a feeder band at this point, and I wouldn't be out there on the Keys at all for this. There's no way I'd be anywhere in the Keys. If I know something like this is coming and I'm down there, I leave. I leave immediately. And see, Scotty, that my stomach does not like sauerkraut. It also does not like kimchi. All right, the graphic that they are putting up right now is literally putting the eye wall going from Sarasota to Naples. Fort Myers is right in the middle of that. Ooh, that is a wide eye wall. Man, I hope it isn't that wide when it hits there. That would be that's massive. I don't think I've seen an eye wall being shown anything near that large yet in my life. I've seen some pretty big storms, but never an eye wall that was that wide. Usually speaking, when they get really powerful, right when they're crossing into that four, they'll just suddenly go. Phew. Oh, froze. Oh, well, what I was saying is a lot of times with really powerful storms, right as they cross from three to four, they'll shrink in size and tighten. They're predicting 125 right now. Andrew did that. Andrew shrank in size and then totally annihilated that area. I mean, it took the grass. Miami, the entire Miami area was devastated. Yeah, gotta love predictions. Let's see. They're showing predicted wind speeds for various areas on the west coast right now. Well, now they're moving to the east coast. Let's see. We got. All right, they're showing the tornado warnings are still up. Yeah, I can't say I blame you on trusting the media or the government. Part of the reason why I like to watch the actual radar myself, get the actual data. It tells me more than they do 90% of the time. If it comes in as a three, that's going to be bad for that area. It's going to be really bad as a four. When you get up around a four, you start having weird things happen. like pine needles going completely through trees. Because the low pressure pulls the tree out just enough for that pine needle to be able, with the speed that it'll be traveling, to actually go in like it's a nail. I was on AccuWeather earlier, Scotty. Um, I'm watching a local Fox because they're the only ones that have it up, this type of stuff up 24/7 in the area. And it's not even their normal stuff, it's one of the secondary channels. Up until the hurricane, they weren't playing commercials on this. Now they're playing commercials. On fake silver. But they weren't playing any at all on this for days. I pop it over on here a lot of times so that I can actually get a radar during the off times. When it's not normal broadcast. That's the only reason I watch the news anymore. It's just so I can know what's going on with the weather. Yeah, I can see that as a problem. We used to be able to post links all the time. I just recently started using StreamYard. I don't know how to turn anybody into a mod on here. Kind of annoying. And I don't know how to share out the link. It's supposed to be a paste, copy and paste type deal. But so far, it won't. It'll let me copy it, but it won't let me paste it. I'm going to have to get somebody of the younger generation to make it comply with me. Yeah, they're really going off on this. This is a long commercial for a $20 double eagle clad silver coin. Don't buy it if they say clad. All right, there they got the actual radar up again. I wish they'd say how far. Hi, Howie. I wish they'd say exactly how far offshore it is at this point. They haven't been showing any graphics like that. They're normally really good at showing stuff like that. I'm pretty sure this thing's going to be coming in the morning. This morning. I mean, it's 1:45 in the morning here. The main part of the hurricane is actually ashore already. I should be getting a feeder band in the next few minutes. Now, in case you don't know, I'm on hurricane watch. So I figured I'd do a live broadcast of a Floridian's take of watching a hurricane come in. Thanks for coming in, Howie. Much appreciated. I don't know exactly how long I'm going to be on. I've been on for almost an hour at this point. Howie, I'm an old pro with this. And I'm on the opposite side of the state, so I will be getting hurricane conditions, but I don't think I'm going to have anything to worry about. People on the other side of the state need to leave. It's going to be bad if it's not already bad. Hey, Scott, do you think you can get me a wind speed for Naples, Florida? They keep popping up that graphic and then dropping it before my eyes have a chance to focus on it. And okay, so the actual eye of the storm is north of Key West now, so it is in Florida Bay. And it's going to hit much sooner than they predicted by like a day. 25 knots out of the east. That's not that fast. All right, they brought that up. Okay, Punta Gorda, 28 miles an hour. Venice, 26. Fort Myers, 16. So they're just getting hammered with rain at this point. Let's see. Key West has 45-mile-an-hour winds. I didn't get to read the other ones. All right, so Marathon is 64, Key West is 71. These are top speeds so far. So probably wind gusts. Miami 39, Pompano Beach 40. Pompano's easy driving distance from here. So Sarasota, Fort Myers, they're definitely in a feeder band. The feeder bands go all the way across. Looks like Vero Beach is getting hammered, which is just south of me. That's the next major metropolitan. It's just south of me. Good evening, Raglander. Or for you, probably morning. I'm on hurricane watch. I believe you guys call them typhoons. We have an incoming storm where I'm at. I caught a graphic earlier. They were predicting at least a foot of rain in my area. Well, last week I had a foot of rain, and the week before that I had 10 inches of rain. Strangely enough, the canal that's behind me has been dry all summer. Even with all this rain, it's only got about 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet of water in it. Well, nothing's got tropical storm winds as of yet. Yeah, well, it can be deceiving, Scotty. We'll see exactly how that is once that eye wall gets closer. But you know, they were talking about it having hurricane strength winds on 120 miles to either side of it earlier today, like right before I came on here, which would, I would guess, Fort Lauderdale would be getting close to 100 miles, 120 miles from the eye of the storm, which means it should be picking up really soon. Raglander will be fine. I'm an old pro. Been through more than I'd like to count. Yeah, they're saying it's going to dissipate really fast once it comes ashore. I've heard that story before, and it didn't. And other times they were talking about it holding together and then does something completely weird. They really don't know what they're talking about most of the time. They're getting better. Computer models are getting better. Yet the eye is huge. That's actually a good thing. So when that tightens up, then that's going to be a problem. Right now, it's a 3. Direct land impact of 3 is not so much fun. Its overall structure looks like a really strong 1 or a 2 versus it being a 3. Other than it's wide, it's really wide. If it starts to tighten in, that's when we know we got some problems. Yeah, Harvey. Harvey was fun. Actually, one of the funnest storms I ever went through didn't even have a name. It was a upper low pressure system. So it didn't get named. And they're like, oh, it's going to be windy, a little rainy for a day. And all of a sudden, we're getting hit by the equivalent of a Class 2 hurricane as it comes cruising right across it. Never even had a name. It's an upper atmosphere low pressure system. Doesn't count if it's up that high. They're predicting landfall in about a day and a half, but this storm's moving much faster than they were predicting. They were predicting for us local time Thursday around 8 p.m. I'm thinking more along the lines of Wednesday local time, 10 o'clock, 10 in the morning. Unless this thing slows down a whole lot. I think Key West is getting hammered pretty good. But those wind speeds aren't really all that high. We have afternoon thunderstorms that are much higher at wind speed. Let's see, Sebastian, that's not far from me. We got a sustained wind coming out of the east at 14 miles an hour. That's not even breezy. Sarasota, 20 miles an hour. Man, this storm, it needs to pick it up some. But you know, in the middle of the night, it's not abnormal for them to weaken a little bit. It is over some very warm water, though. Let's see. All right, the wind speed is actually not as fast as it was a little while ago. It's lost. It's now at 120 mile an hour wind speed in the eye wall versus 125. So it is weakening. Yeah, 14 miles an hour is nothing. It's a light breeze. Seriously, don't talk to me until you hit over 25. 35 is when I start contemplating whether or not I want to work outside. Depends on what the job is. So, yes, it is definitely weakening. That's good for the West Coast. One of the things about them weakening is they tend to dump their water, and then the rain becomes more of a hazard than the winds. Tampa's starting to get it now. I don't think they were supposed to put that graphic up because it just got pulled back down real fast. It said something about landfall at 5 o'clock in the morning. All right. Well, I'm over an hour. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it for tonight. Get some more coffee in me. I'll be up most of the night, if not the entire night. So I want to try to get a couple more things done here before I go lay down. Thank you very much for coming. Y'all have a great night.